Do you ever think about what you've been spending your life doing and then have an existential crisis about it? No, I don't either. I really like playing video games. Hey y'all, SnarkyJay cosplay here. If you're watching this video on the day it was released, then that means that tomorrow is in fact my 25th birthday. And I was trying to figure out fun things to do for it, and I do have a special video already scheduled for upload tomorrow, but I thought, why not do something leading up to it? So I thought, why not go over my 25 favorite video games? But see, there's kind of a catch, because when it comes to favorite video games, I feel like some of them apply to certain eras in my life, probably wouldn't have the same effect now. We're gonna be sorting my favorite video games into 3 categories. First, the early years, which will go from about 2000 to 2010, which were all my formative years when it came to video game playing. Then I'm gonna hit you guys with games that I just happen to like or love, and then finally we're gonna go over a few of the games that really shaped me as a person. So stick with me, we're gonna go on this gaming journey as I lead into turning 25, jumping into the early years, the formative chaos and joy of childhood gaming. Number 1 is a weird choice, I admit. Technically, number 1 is actually 2 games, Grand Theft Auto, Vice City, and San Andreas. The first time I ever held a controller in my hand was for Grand Theft Auto. My dad has always liked the franchise, and he used to play in front of me sometimes, and so every once in a while he'd hand me the controller and let me drive around in circles until he realized that I had figured out how to both drive and commit all kinds of atrocities, and then I was no longer allowed to play. But from the minute I had a controller in my hand, I was hooked. Number 2 is Pokemon Diamond. I grew up playing Nintendo, and the big game for me was Pokemon. It didn't matter that these things were basically just the same reskinned every year. I loved all the Pokemon games, and Pokemon Diamond was actually the first one I ever completely finished. I was so proud of myself, and I still have such a huge soft spot in my heart for Pokemon Diamond. Number 3 goes to Viva Pinata, which is a fever dream that I'm still astounded existed every time I think about it. So my brother had Viva Pinata on his Xbox 360. And this is 2008, where like not everybody had, you know, a computer in their pocket pretty much. So I remember asking my dad, I said, my brother has this game, Viva Pinata, on his Xbox. Wouldn't it be great if they had it on Nintendo? Not everything that's on a console has a port for Nintendos, but this one actually had a Nintendo version of the game, and the whole point was breeding pinatas, and it was weird and kind of meta and quirky and fun. I still go back to Viva Pinata on my DS every once in a while because I love that game. Number 4 is Ratchet & Clank Future Tools of Destruction. My dad bought me this game on the recommendation of an exhausted, underpaid GameStop employee all the way back in 2007. This is the first game that actually taught me how to game. I would get my ass kicked, I would struggle, I had to learn how to shoot, and it was so funny because I distinctly remember just standing in one place and firing and dying. And my dad would sit behind me backseat gaming, and he would sit there frantically like, baby, you have to move and shoot at the same time. And the lessons I learned playing Ratchet & Clank Future Tools of Destruction really taught me a lot. I beat the whole thing, and I was super proud of myself. It established a really lifelong love for the Ratchet & Clank franchise, and bonus, I was actually vindicated for that earlier this year because I actually met James Arnold Taylor, who voices Ratchet, and I've never been so excited to meet anybody in my life. Number 5, Ratchet & Clank All for One. I know I just talked about a different Ratchet & Clank game, but hear me out. It's gotten increasingly rare to find couch co-op games, and my dad and I love playing games together. Unfortunately, I feel like since I turned 10, there's been a bit of a skill mismatch between him and myself, so playing games against him really got boring for both of us. I know he's gonna watch this and hate me for it, but anyway, we ended up buying All for One on a random Friday, and since he had me that weekend, we started it and we were totally hooked. It took us, I think, about 2 or 3 months on weekends and evenings to beat the game together. He played Captain Quark, I played Ratchet, and we just had an absolute blast playing this game together. So for me, it's always gonna be important and sentimental just because it's the one and only game that I actually played the entire campaign with my dad. Number 6 is Sly 3: Honor Among Thieves. My dad bought me this one a few years after it came out, and I'm pretty sure he bought it on the same trip when he bought Ratchet & Clank Future Tools of Destruction, and to me, Sly Cooper was the only guy as cool as Ratchet back in the day. I absolutely love this style. I love that this game took me to different locations, including like Venice and Australia. It was such a great game. Unfortunately, nostalgia's a bitch, because I tried to replay it not that long ago, and I was like, wow, this sucks. But back then, it was the shit. Number 7 is Just Dance 3. Don't even ask. I've always loved dancing. To this day, my cardio is almost exclusively dance cardio. And it was the one time I had an Xbox with Kinect, and I so enjoyed playing these games. I still remember some of the dances by memory, so, you know. It was fun. And number 8 is actually my absolute favorite childhood game of all time, Little Big Planet 2. I spent so many hours and so much of my dad's money making really cute little costumes, making friends. I still have a friend that I talk to occasionally that I met playing Little Big Planet 2. And to me, it was just countless hours of enjoying my childhood that were spent playing that game. I still miss it sometimes. Little Big Planet 2 is very much one of those, like, you can't go home again, but I wish somebody would tell you when you're in the good old days before you leave them. Because I remember being, 10, 11 years old and sitting there playing this game until 3 in the morning, and somebody would have to tell me to go to bed. But my God, I had so much fun. Moving on to games I loved or liked, we're talking about fun, stylish games that I happened to really enjoy, but they didn't exactly strike the emotional chord that my last category did. Number 1 is Infamous Second Son. Now, a lot of people complain about Infamous Second Son as a follow-up to the other Infamous games, but I'm gonna let you in on a little secret. I never played the other Infamous games. So I thought Infamous Second Son was super cool. It was the first game besides The Last of Us that I ever got on the PS4. And it was really cool because I loved Delson's character, another great performance by Troy Baker. The graphics were super neat. And because it was on the PS4, it had this element where you would shake your controller and it was like a spray paint can. It was just super cool. I love that game. Number 2 is Watch Dogs. I know I'm gonna get flamed for this one. I don't care. When it came out in 2014, I thought Aiden Pierce was the coolest, and the idea of hacking into things with a phone was awesome. It was like the first real, like, you have missions and there's an open world and you can drive and do a bunch of cool, chaotic Grand Theft Auto type game that I ever finished 100% by myself without eventually having to ask my dad to help me with a driving mission. So I was very proud, and I'm always gonna love that game. Number 3 is Overwatch. I've never really liked first-person shooters, but my best friend was so into Overwatch. He was in the beta for a while, and he saw McCree, the cowboy, now known as Cassidy, and he said, "Jay, there's a character in this that you're gonna love. Try the game out, play with me." And it really just launched me into a full-blown obsession with the game, and without discovering McCree, I wouldn't have discovered cosplay and pretty much never would have gotten to where I am right now. So I'm always gonna have a soft spot for Overwatch. Number 4 is Batman Arkham Asylum. It's honestly such a simple concept, but so well executed and such a cool game stylistically and mechanically that it cemented my love for Batman in an even deeper way than I thought possible, which is a little scary. Number 5 is Assassin's Creed 3. To me, Assassin's Creed 3 is one of the better Assassin's Creed games ever made, and I love pretty much a lot of the series before like 2016. It had such a brilliant story, such a great character that was underappreciated because he came after Ezio. Phenomenal story, great mechanics, and I love the fact that it takes place during the American Revolutionary War. Number 6, Telltale Batman. This is another Troy Baker voice-acted project, but I absolutely love Telltale and I love Batman, so what could be better? This game is the cause of so much of my anxiety because you spend a lot of time trying to not make the Joker into what you know the Joker is. But it's such a well-executed game. I think I've played it like 2 or 3 times already. I really love Telltale Batman. Number 7, Darksiders. It's a Legend of Zelda style hack and slash dungeon puzzle game, which is so incredibly weird and yet so phenomenally interesting because you really get to play as one of the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse, War, in one of the best character designs I've ever seen. I'm still obsessed with him. It's incredibly frustrating because I don't exactly have the mind for dungeons and puzzles, but wow, did I love this game. Number 8, BioShock Infinite. Once again, Troy Baker takes the spotlight as Booker DeWitt. I'm not even gonna lie, I was pretty bad at this game, so playing through it was a nightmare, but stylistically it was gorgeous. It had a great story. I love the aesthetics, so this one had to be mentioned. Number 9 is The Wolf Among Us. It has been 12 years. I'm still waiting for season 2. I might be 85 before they come up with the second season, but wow, what a fantastic concept. This was such a creative game. It was my introduction to Telltale. Brilliant set of characters. I love the twist on classic fairy tale characters, so I'm always gonna love The Wolf Among Us. All right, folks, get out the tissues. I'm kidding, we're not gonna need tissues for this one, but these are the games that shaped me. These were the ones that had some kind of emotional impact that really spoke to my core, both as a gamer and as an individual. And for this portion, we're not going in order of emotional effect or which game is my favorite. We're actually going in order of release. So let's get deep. Number 1, Assassin's Creed, the Ezio trilogy. I know it's a little bit of a cop-out to technically have 3 games tied here, but 2 Brotherhood and Revelations basically all tie in to tell the story of one of the greatest video game protagonists of all time. I fell head over heels with Ezio when I was like 11, and while I loved his blend of charisma and anger in Assassin's Creed 2, I love that the Ezio trilogy lets you grow with him and watch him develop into a wiser, more intelligent, and more emotionally grounded man all the way through Revelations, and then eventually in that special called Embers that I don't even want to talk about because it makes me upset. But these games taught me a lot, and to be completely honest, I think they also really helped me stoke a lifelong love of history. Number 2 goes to Red Dead Redemption, the first one specifically. I watched my brother play this when I was probably too young to watch him play it, and I really had a fascination with this game. Unfortunately, I only saw bits and pieces of it, so I never really knew how it ended. And a few years later, I bought it for myself, and I played it through in way too little time. I know math homework definitely suffered. As somebody who's always had an interest in cowboys and western wear, I felt vindicated, and to be honest, this is one of the greatest stories ever told in gaming, and the ending always hits like an absolute gut punch. Number 3, The Last of Us. I'm not even sure I have to talk about this one very much. I've completely avoided and ignored the existence of The Last of Us 2, but The Last of Us 1 to me is such a mechanical win in terms of gaming. It's got everything. It's scary, it's funny, it's touching, it's got tremendous performances by, again, Troy Baker and Ashley Johnson, and to me it's probably one of the greatest stories ever told in gaming. Number 4, Final Fantasy 15. I know that this one is incredibly divisive among most Final Fantasy fans because if you don't know anything about the game, it basically spent like 12 years in development hell. It started as one game, actually finished as a different game, and it kind of has a ton of plot holes and weird inconsistencies as a result. But to me, it was my first entry into the Final Fantasy series, and I've come to the conclusion that whichever one you played first is probably going to be one of your favorites. I absolutely loved this game, and I played it during a pretty challenging time in my life, so the idea of basically going through hell with 3 bros at your side really just working so you're not alone kind of touched me. Number 5, Red Dead Redemption 2. I could write literal essays on this game. I remember seeing the first trailer for Red Dead Redemption 2, and with the attachment that I had to the first Red Dead Redemption, I saw Arthur Morgan and I thought, who gives a shit about this guy? And by the end of the game, which by the way I beat in like 10 days, I was sobbing like a fucking baby, and I walked around this house like a ghost for 3 days. I felt like I had actually lost something real. Number 6, I'm tying together 2 here again, Final Fantasy VII Remake and Rebirth. It's funny because I talked a little bit about this in a video I did specifically about the remake a couple months back, but to me it was weird because I'd always seen and heard names like Aerith, Tifa, Sephiroth, Cloud, and they were always abstract concepts to me because I had never played the games for myself. And after I played and realized how emotionally poignant the story of Final Fantasy VII is, I was f***ing hooked. It's such an incredibly deep and layered story that it's really changed the way I look at gaming as a whole, and so many of the characters have become absolutely near and dear to me. I'm looking at the rest of my list right now, and I know so many of you are gonna be so disappointed in me, and I am so sorry. Number 7 goes to Final Fantasy Crisis Core Reunion. Yes, this ties into the Final Fantasy VII universe. I don't think Crisis Core is a particularly good game. I honestly did not enjoy enjoy the gameplay for most of it. However, the story and the main character, Zack Fair, are so good. And I was so caught off guard by what happens at the end of that game that I was devastated. And there's so much sentimentality and nuance wrapped up in what is admittedly kind of a bare bones remastering of a game that I was so surprised by how absolutely brilliant it is, and it really left a mark on me. And number 8 is Final Fantasy 16. All right, this is one of only 2 games that hit harder than Final Fantasy 15 and Crisis Core, and is the only game that hit me as hard as Red Dead Redemption 2 did. Red Dead 2 devastated me, and Final Fantasy 16 put me back in that hole. This game has one of the most incredible stories ever told. It's layered in a way that's almost Game of Thrones-ish with its politics and the elements of dark medieval fantasy, but it also has a character that is so incredibly not just cool, but he is sensitive, he's sentimental, he's complex. He's so tragic, but so well written. Not only is the score for this game absolutely beautiful, as so many Final Fantasy scores tend to be, but the vocal performances throughout the entire game are absolutely brilliant, and I to this day think Ben Starr was robbed when it came to the Game Awards that year. I've been obsessing about characters for years, and somehow Clive Rosfield managed to climb the list of men that I was obsessive about and topped, honestly, most of them. He's not all the way at the top because Eric Draven still exists, but God, he got really close. If I could convince everybody I've ever met and anybody that's ever listened to me to play this admittedly exhausting and somewhat frustrating game, I would launch the campaign tomorrow. This game had such a tremendous impact. It really hit me at the right time in my life, and I am always gonna love Final Fantasy 16. Holy shit, what a story. Anyway, folks, those were 25 video games I love. Just celebrating my birthday a little bit early. We've got a special video coming up tomorrow. I hope you guys have enjoyed this one. Let me know if you've actually played any of these. I'd love to know some of your thoughts. And that's all from me. I've been SnarkyJay. Thank you so much for watching. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. For more SnarkyJay, be sure to check me out on Instagram, and if you'd like to support me, this channel, and my content creation, do check out and consider subscribing to my Patreon for exclusive photo shoot sets and cosplay content. I'll add links to all of those in the description below, and let me know one of the games that shaped you in the comments below.